It does. Poland's situation in many ways mirrors that of South Korea in that we're not exactly in a great neighborhood when it comes to safety and security. So we don't have a neighbor as unstable as North Korea, although with the threat of war coming in from Ukraine, there is a persistent sense of danger in this country. And luckily for us, the government has taken some action in order to reinforce our defensive posture. However, it's always a case of too little, too late. I mean, if you look at South Korea, you've been preparing for war basically from the moment the last shell was fired in 1953. Now, with the peace dividends of the 1990s and the early 2000s, unfortunately, our armed forces and our military defense complex deteriorated to a point where it has to be rebuilt and changed to a new era, essentially. But this is also an opportunity to get rid of all the old hardware, all the old methods, old practices and so on, in order to jump into a new era of 21st century warfare. And we are doing so with the help of the Korean defense industry. Well, I'm not sure about the public opinion at large, but I can tell you that the opinion among soldiers who use this Korean hardware is, generally speaking, very good. I've had a chance to talk to members of the 18th Artillery Regiment as well as the 20th Mechanized Brigade who use the Homar K or the K239 Chunmo and the K2 Black Panther tank, respectively. They've been very happy with the equipment that they've received. They say it's easy to use, very reliable, accurate, and it does the job it's supposed to. As such, it's an important stepping stone in the Polish Armed Forces stepping into the 21st century. Of course, every time you give a new piece of hardware into the soldiers' hands, it will receive some criticism for some minor niggling features. There are some minor problems that are specific to the Polish environment. So, for example, with the use of the K2 tank, there have been some problems with the Polish mud, interestingly enough. So that required some changes to the suspension tuning and so on. However, that generally speaking has been a small issue that required very little changes, and these little niggling features are going to be taken care of one by one. I'm not sure if I can speak for the entire public opinion, but certainly speaking, Europe's opinion of Korean weapons has changed over time. The speed of delivery, especially of K2 tanks, has been impressive by European standards. I mean, if you compare the way that Hyundai Rotem have delivered the K2 tanks to Poland and compare that to European manufacturers, those that still do exist, because most of them don't, the numbers are impressive. And in that respect, the fact that South Korea never actually stood down its defensive posture and never actually wound down its factories and the industrial complex speaks for itself and is now bringing benefits to your industry. And the fact that, I've had a chance to visit Hyundai Rotem's factory in Changwon. I mean, the level of automation and also the way that everything is organized, it's a very streamlined and efficient process. And as such, this is an example that could be replicated with some difficulty in Europe. But thanks to the industrial partnerships that we are forming as Poland with the Korean industry and as well as the Korean Ministry of Defense, this is the kind of support that we're going to need in order to rebuild our local repair base and also maintenance. Because, MRO, or maintenance, repair and overhaul, is a big thing in Poland. The thing is, when you buy a piece of equipment, the price of that piece of equipment is only about 30 to 40% of the total cost of ownership through 30 to 40 years of service. So in that respect, having local servicing capabilities is important, and forming those partnerships with companies like Hanwha and Hyundai Rotem and others is an important stepping stone to actually getting that done, to ensure the high readiness of this hardware, and also to relay feedback from the soldiers directly to the manufacturers so that errors and problems can be corrected in time, and that the localized, Polonized version that are supposed to be first assembled and then made here will feature no such issues at all. However, the general consensus is that this is very modern equipment. It's delivered at a very quick pace, and most importantly, it is receiving the support of the Korean government and also other agencies in the Korean manufacturers' attempts at exporting this hardware. So I think that the Korean defense industry has a bright future in Europe, and it is going to be a story of long-term development over here in Poland as well.